Hello, and good morning, everybody. Hi, my name is Darius Anucauskas, and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com, and today is Friday. So we're wrapping up the whole central bank extravaganza this week, which was happening this week, with the BoJ. So the BoJ came out with its interest rate decision, so we'll look into that, and I hope you'll enjoy this session. We'll see what was happening with all the instruments, how they reacted, how they moved, and we'll go from there. I'll see you in a bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello, and good morning. My name is Darius Anucauskas, and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com. And today is Friday, ladies and gentlemen, Friday the 19th of the 9th of the 2005. Look, welcome everybody. We made it to the end of this week. We had a busy week. We had a lot of central banks coming out within some interest rate decisions. Sorry, I have an itching nose this morning. I cannot really stop itching my nose. It was like I said, it was a busy week, full of excitement for some. Maybe again, I don't know. It's up to you. You tell me. You tell me in the comments if it was a good week for you or not. And I hope it was. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let's see how the markets behaved. I hope they behaved well. They were good to you, So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we'll dig into the markets. We'll see what's happening with indices, commodities, cryptos, and currencies, the usual stuff, basically. Yeah, before we jump into that action, let's have a quick read through our risk disclaimer. The content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and should not be considered as such. This material should not be taken as an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest. I'm not going to disappear anywhere. I'm just going to put my usual good morning in the chat room. I hope nobody's going to be faster than me. Good morning. Yes, there we go. Good morning, everyone. Let me just put, there we go. I was the first one. There we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I hope this week was good for you. I hope you didn't, incur too many losses, because again, losses do happen, and it's part of trading, investment, and this is what we need to manage all the time. Also, just a quick mentioning, by the way, of our Markets.com website, which you can always check out for more information about us. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist. Also, join me next week on one of my closed webinars. This is going to happen in Zoom, and registration only. Basically, what we're going to do here is it's going to be like the second episode of the series that we decided to launch here, basically where we're looking into specific indicators, like the most popular indicators, and just we want to see if they work or not. So the first one we did was on MACD. Now it's going to be on RSI. So please join. I think, like I said, I think it could be useful for you. So if you are, like I said, if you are applying some indicators like that, what we're going to do here is basically we're going to check historic data, see how it worked out before, but also we're going to apply it in real life action, real life market action, and it's going to be on our demo account, of course, but still, the game is the same, right? We're gonna purely use our cold brain in terms of, let's say, entry of positions, and based on the RSI. So we'll see different scenarios and strategies. So yeah, tune in. Link in the description of this video. Hopefully to see you there. Ladies and gentlemen, let's before I jump into the charts, let's quickly pick up on the BoJ, which came out this morning, and the interest rate decision remained at the same plus 0.5%, which was expected. To be honest, it's not something that we didn't know that's not gonna that's gonna happen. So we know that now we kind of know more that we're more confident about the fact that there could be a hike going into October. And look, I talked about this already, like for several meetings, and I said that look, in October time we might be seeing a interest rate hike from the BoJ. again, that's an interesting move, given the fact that they have a new kind of leading party in their political system, which kind of opposes higher interest rates. On the contrary, they're more in favor of the cuts. So yeah, this is going to be like a challenge. I mean, this is going to be an interesting show, of course, but a challenge for Japan. So yeah, look, what happened this morning was interesting. That not only that they decided to keep the rate unchanged, but there was also a vote from the 9 members who vote on interest rates. Basically, 7 for keeping the rate unchanged, and 2 were in favor of the hike. So that's something that you don't see very often. Normally, they're all kind of in one direction in a way. But also, I'm reading here as well that they basically decided to begin selling their holdings of exchange traded funds at about like 330 billion yen annually, and their rates, which are the real estate investment trusts, at roughly 5 billion yen annually. So basically, this is how they're signaling their kind of further steps towards normalization, apparently. So again, it's a big number. However, from what I heard this morning, was that it would take them at least more than 100 years to unwind all of their assets, all of their holdings. Look, for now, like I said, we take everything what we get. So I will show you the market reaction here in Japan. Here, look, in Nikkei 225, beautiful sell-off after hitting the all-time high right here. Oh, why is it not? Let me just grab a horizontal ray. There we go. So yeah, after hitting the 45,000 kind of 709 zone on the cash index, it started drifting back down. So for now, what we're seeing here, to be honest, is part of a larger correction before another possible leg of buying. So we do have some upside lines. One of them is this one, taken from the low of May, the lowest point of May. The other one is maybe can be drawn this way, but look, don't get me wrong, both of these are a little bit on the tentative side. Nevertheless, we keep them on the chart just to see if actually they carry some significance later on. So for now, what I'm doing here is I'm watching this upside line here. I'm watching the flatter upside line, and what I want to see here, if we do correct a little bit more to the downside, are we going to get a hold up above the upside line, above the both upside lines here? So if that's the case, then great. More buyers could join in. But if we start breaking the steeper upside line, then yes, certainly I'm leaning towards the slightly flatter upside line. And if the slightly flatter upside line gets broken, well, you probably follow my logic, right? So long story short, for now, I'm watching this. Certainly, like I said, the situation with the Bank of Japan is very interesting. Something that we did not expect. No, we expected the rate cut, but maybe the unwinding of their ETFs and their rates. That's something that came as a bit of a maybe surprise here. Look, Japanese inflation. Let me just remind myself as well. It's at 3.10. Let me just see if I can find here this one. Yep, there we go. So Japanese inflation 2.7. Why am I having this 3.10 number? Is it not an updated number here? Yeah, it's not an updated number. Okay. So look, yesterday, yes, because okay, got it. Because we got the number late at night, or actually, this morning, basically. So very early this morning, and there we go. That's the, where's that, Friday? There we go. Yes, that's the one. So we got the inflation number 2.7 against the previous 3.1. That's why there was the 3.1. So the previous 3.1. So we're seeing a decline in inflation. The way it shows up on the chart here, We have been declining for a little bit here already. So yes, for some time actually, since January of this year, actually, there we go. We're on a nice, beautiful decline. Look, I said before, and I'll say it again, normally you don't apply technical analysis on these. However, if we just, out of fun, we do a possible falling channel here because that's how it looks to me. So in a way, we have some more room to drop, and unless it gets a hold up here, above the 50-day EMA here. Again, like I said, it's purely for fun, honestly. Like, I don't really recommend doing this like technical analysis on a chart like this. Is just like, honestly, but like I said, just to see here if we could see some more downside, but there is a strong kind of area of support coming on here, and that's roughly around the 2.4 zone, something like that. So I think that this could be the next target, 2.4%. So if we clear this upside line, then yes, of course, we could see further declines. And then to me, the question of a hike in October, I don't know, becomes a little bit weird, unless you really want to actually support the Japanese yen. But I'll jump into Forex in a bit. So for now, let's finish off dealing with the with Nikkei. So for now, long story short, I'm leaning for a little bit of a correction back down towards the upside line, and then we'll take it from there. Let's jump into China 50. Why did my China 50 disappear, honestly, suddenly? Let's have a look. No, I cannot use the other brokers. No. But you know what? China 50. Let's do it. ETF. No, you know what? Shanghai. What about the Shanghai Composite? There we go. Shanghai Composite. Yes. Will it be this one? Shanghai Composite. There we go. Need to double check this because total return index. Yeah, I think it's this one. So looking at this picture here, let me just double check. You know what? Because again, sometimes you're getting this conflicted data here. Let me just see if what I can find. So China, my beloved China. Where are you? Where is that? I'm searching for that index there, Shanghai Composite, China A50. Yeah, well, it should be China A50. Okay, we got the Shanghai Composite, but that's not the one. No, it's like, yes, I mean, it should be China 50. Why a trading view doesn't have the China 50? Or am I looking at the wrong place? So China 50, no, we don't need the brokers. No, we cannot reuse those in this. Futures SGX. There we go. And let's use the futures. There we go. I think we can do that. Yep, I think we can use the futures. They're pretty much close to the main cash index, so that's fine. Actually, I'm quite happy with that. Look, and by the way, I actually talked about this one before. Oh, you know what? I need to add this one. I think CN, what is called CN1 asterisk. Yeah, that's the one. Yep. So I'll add it for future reference, and I think that so that I wouldn't kind of lose it next time. There we go. Yep. So finally we can work. Now look, China is also correcting back down after a good run, after hitting a new high for this year. The index started reversing back to the downside, and there we go. Look at this reversal. Look at the strong reversal. Now, look, what I can say here is, for now, today we're having an important meeting between China's Xi and Mr. Trump. So basically, they're going to have this big meeting over the phone, and potentially they're going to arrange a real in-person meeting. So for now, what can I say? Oh, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, can you hear me and see me well? Because for some reason my YouTube is telling me, that it's not really running smoothly. So let me know just in the comments and below if you can hear me and see me well, because like I said, it is showing me that there are interferences. Now look, long story short, for now, what can I say? It's the interesting picture here that's building up. We're seeing a little bit of a retracement here. Maybe this is having this nice little effect on the market because it's Japan, or maybe is just pure profit taking before the call. Because look, if there's something that comes out not very positive from that call, then maybe we could see like the index reversing lower. So at this point, when we're hitting these new highs for the year, not the all-time highs, but the highs for the year, then we can just basically take a little bit of profit. It's the end of the week. We don't know what's going to happen during the call. Maybe it's not going to go well. So I think it's quite logical to take a little bit of profits, especially if you're trading. If you're investing, then you don't care, you're in there for the long term. But if you're trading, I think that it's a good move. However, the problem here is that the week, it was initially running good, and maybe people started closing their profits already yesterday just because they knew that this call is going to come up. So long story short, for now, I would say this way: there is still a chance for this one to move higher, but as long as we remain above the steep upside line. If we do break the steep upside line, there is still also a chance to move higher, but then you would have to wait maybe for a rebound from this little area right here, this upside line, taken from the lowest point of April of this year, and then we'll just take it from there. So for now, long story short, we're considering something like this. But if we do break the upside line, then yes, we will we'll consider a larger correction back down. Right, let's jump into the US, ladies and gentlemen, but let me just jump into the cash index. There we go. Yesterday, creation of a new all-time high on the Dow. Very, very interesting, very, very exciting, I would say, but maybe, a little bit of profit taking could happen, especially based on the same circumstances that there is this meeting between this call between Xi and between the Chinese and the US leaders. So long story short, for now I would say that I am still somewhat bullish, but it's very difficult when you're hitting new all-time highs all the time. It's a little bit difficult to remain on the bullish side. Let's throw in a few trend lines to see if there is any logic here. So we have this little upside line taken from the lowest point of August, and also maybe we're gonna see something of a rising wedge. There we go, something like that. So if that's the case, if this is a rising wedge, then according to all the TA rules, this tends to break to the downside. So if we do get a nice clearance of the lower side of this rising wedge, then yes, certainly I will consider some lower levels. But in general, like I said, for now the topic is this, like that maybe we're forming something of a rising wedge. Now don't get me wrong, I mean, we know there was an index where it didn't really work out very well. I think it was this one. No, like just let me just double check here. So yeah, but actually it wasn't a rising wedge. No, it wasn't a rising wedge. No, I think, maybe I'm talking about some other index. But look, long story short, for now no, wait, it was the rising wedge that I was thinking of. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. There we go. That was the formation. So you see, it violated the upper side. So it doesn't always break to the downside. And duh. I mean, I'm not like telling you something new here, but just for some, if you're thinking that you know your patterns, you always need to wait for that confirmation. That's what I keep on saying. Wait for the confirmation, and then you can do something about it. But at this point, it's it can backfire, and here it was a good example how it backfired. So So we're getting rid of this trend line. Let me just do that exactly. And yeah, after yesterday's creation of the new all-time high, we are now seeing a little bit of retracement, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. We created a new high, so that's why this our upside scenario will be on a break of this 6,658 territory-ish, roughly. If we do clear that, a forthcoming higher high will be confirmed, and then we'll go higher. But at this point, I'm just not really touching this one, to be honest. I need some sort of like a better, like, clear move to the downside, you know, like a then in order to kind of pick up this one to the upside again. But this point, like I said, I don't like to, unless it starts, like I said, unless it starts popping above the current all-time high, and then yes, then we could see some upside. But then the other problem arises, you know, like when we get something like that, then there's another issue. The other issue is that I said this as well, mentioned before, that if we do clear, let's say, the current all-time high, right, and we go higher, but then by the end of the trading session we somehow drift back below the, at that point already, previous all-time high, and we see the candle, the daily candle, kind of ending, the body of the daily candle ending below that previous, at that time, you know, the all-time high. Ooh, now that's to me a bit of a bearish indication. So let's see what's going to happen today. I'm not really saying, you know, that all the fun is finished. No, let's see what do we have, what kind of fun we can get this today. Retail sales, Canadian retail sales coming out, so maybe a little bit of movement there, but I think that the main focus will be on the US and on the China and US telephone call. Look, going further now, so yes, that's the situation with the S&P 500. Nasdaq, no, look, Nasdaq is doing very well. A while ago I talked about Nasdaq, and I said that whenever, you know, whenever one index from the top 3 US indices, whenever one index goes for an all-time high, shortly kind of is followed by the other index. Normally it's the S&P, because the S&P sometimes sits like, actually most of the time it sits in between Dow and the Nasdaq, and it's kind of in terms of performance. If you know, if Dow is performing the best that day, Nasdaq will be the biggest loser and or least gainer, and the S&P will always be somewhere in between. So look, Dow went for an all-time high, hit that, and then S&P followed, or actually the opposite. I think it was the opposite. S&P was the first one, then Dow, and then Nasdaq was lagging. And I said to you, look, I mean, before, let's say, drifting lower, and if the indices do want to drift lower, we need to see a bit of what's the word for that? You know, a bit of a hit of the all-time highs first, and then kind of, you know, then we can see a reversal back down. So to put it in simple terms, and we did that. We have all these, you know, all-time highs. The only thing is that what's fueling still the tech market is the different announcements, you know, by like, I'll give you the most recent example. Today's NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA said it's going to invest into Intel, basically buying a stake in Intel. Is that a good thing? In a way, yes. On paper, or should I say on, you know, on the public eye, yes, that's a good headline. Is it a good thing in reality? Let me actually show you what's happening. So basically, NVIDIA, there we go. Yesterday it popped. I mean, we don't have the pre-market yet numbers. They're gonna come out in 35 minutes around that, the pre-market figures. But INTC, this is let me just show you. This is where we're sitting. So basically, yesterday the announcement came out, and there we go, boom, to the upside. Is it gonna fix Intel's all the problems? No, I don't think so, because look, it's an interesting company. It was a good company, but I think that they I'm not saying that they're dying, no, but they need to reshape them a little bit, I think. Maybe, doing a better public image or something, or maybe or cutting costs or something like that, because at the moment, I mean, they're, like I said, it seems they're doing a good job, but in light of other like companies like AMD, like NVIDIA, right? I mean, Huawei recently announced a big, chip program. So, yeah, that's why, like I said, Intel has a lot of catching up. And I think in order not to show a failure of a big US historic corporation, I think maybe, NVIDIA was asked to purchase certain stakes. So I don't know if that's going to be, if that's true or not, but certainly at least it seems from the side, yeah, because we know that right now, we know that Mr. Jensen Huang is traveling a lot with the White House administration. And hey, kind of, a nice comment here and there, hey, what does it cost you to, to buy, to buy the 4%, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check how much was it. Was it four? Yeah, Nvidia's 4% stakes. Like, what does it cost you? Like, what, 5 billion? Is that like money to you? No. So, please do. So yeah, again, just speculating here. I don't know if it's true or not, but certainly an interesting moment that we're seeing. Anyway, going back to indices, ladies and gentlemen, just wanted to quickly pick up on the Russell 2000. Look at this one. This one is on fire as well this week, and looking at the weekly chart, I mean, it's looking spectacular, but again, it has been what, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row on the cash index. Oh, I'm sorry, on the futures that those ended up in positive. I mean, that's a good run, but I think a little bit of retracement is needed. So, not saying anything, but it's like when was the last time here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So another like I said, another positive week. A little bit of retracement probably would be nice. Oh, I can see there is a comment, Ahmad Tark. I don't know what you wrote there, but I think it's something in Arabic. But I'm unfortunately sorry. I do not speak, but yes, well, marhaba, welcome. I hope that's kind of the only thing that I can say, probably. And kifak, yes, of course, as well. So. Yeah, thank you very much for your comment. I would really appreciate if you would show me the translation of that. I mean, of course, don't get me wrong, you can copy this one and just kind of put it into Google Translate and see what's happening there. Let's see if we can translate that. Or actually, it wasn't Arabic; it was Persian. So yeah, okay. In that case, look, sorry, but I mean, I thought it was Arabic, but it's more Persian. All right, okay. So, but I don't know if the translation is correct. So hey, anyway, English would be appreciated if that's okay, for this show. But unfortunately, I do not speak Persian. Look, or Farsi. Going back into indices here, dollar index, very quickly on the dollar index. Look at this beautiful thing. Look at this, honestly. Like, I mean, beautiful rejection from this $96 level. Hey, what I said to you before in the beginning of this week, I am aiming for this hurdle, this 96 level. Boom, there we go. Fantastic movement here to the downside. We tested the 96 level and we started rebounding. Now look, what can happen next? Basically, we have this downside line, right? I mean, I'm not saying that I'm getting very positive here, no, but I need a clearance of this downside line in order to go to the upside, because at the same time, if we clear this downside line, we could clear the 50-day EMA shown here as the green line. If that happens, great, I'm gonna go higher. So let me just put my usual arrows here as always. But for the downside now, at this point, I would say yes, the 96 level becomes the area to be watched. And if we do get a nice clearance, great, wonderful, I'll go lower. At the moment, we created a new low for this year. That's fine, but we kind of, but we see that the body of the daily candle struggled to stay below the previous low, and this is that example that I was talking about before, and this is basically that. It's basically that scenario where a possible reversal could happen, and this is exactly what's happening. And we're seeing that reversal right now. Is it going to be a big one? We don't know, but should we exclude that? No, we should not. So long story short, for now I am leaning a little bit more towards the upside on the DXY, but from the very short term perspective, I'm aiming for this downside line, and if we get a nice clearance of that, great, I'll go to the upside. The German index DAX, very quickly. We are seeing some news happening this morning from Copenhagen that the finance ministers of Europe are gathering to discuss how they can move away from the Russian LNG. Again, we'll see what kind of outcome they come up with. Is it a difficult task? Very difficult, in my opinion. You can move, but how deeply are you going to harm your consumer, your European consumer? So, and especially before, the best time to do that is before winter, right? Yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we'll see what's happening there. But for now, the German index is rebounding, pushing back up, trying to clear this downside line. Let's see if we can do that. If we can clear this downside line, and if we can jump back above the 50-day EMA here shown as the green line. If this can happen, great, I'll consider a move to the upside. Let's jump into UK very quickly. So the cash index here, we're stuck. So we know that the US leadership left the UK leadership yesterday, and yep, they finished with the two-day official state visit, and hey, there were a lot of positivity in a way from that. Again, it's the way you're going to interpret that, of course, but a lot of show, don't get me wrong, a lot of show, but no major kind of concrete decisions apart from the fact that NVIDIA is going to invest again. You see, NVIDIA is going to invest a lot of money into UK, basically UK companies. I did a screenshot this morning on Bloomberg, and I wanted to just show you. Basically, this is the image, and this is what basically the NVIDIA is kind of going to be investing into, what they called startups. But Revolut, I wouldn't call it a startup, to be honest, but it's a full grown, strong online bank in Europe, and not only Europe actually. So, and I think they're getting a lot of investment. So basically, NVIDIA is investing $2 billion into that. So, like I said, does it smell like that they got a little bit of encouragement? I would say yes, it does look like that. So, we don't touch you, but if you don't want us to touch you, please do these investments, So yeah, there we go. So long story short, we're going to be watching that, watching how that plays out. Was this all political? At least it seems like that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into some other instruments, the Forex world, as always. AUDUSD, let's have a look at this one. So AUDUSD, beautiful decline, and what I talked about, I said that, look, if we might see a test of this upside line, and there we go, we're getting that test. Now the question is, can we rebound from it? And the moment, everything seems to be somewhat on the positive side. And in the moment, we could see potentially this rebound. Are we getting very comfortable with the upside? No, because my comfort will come if we do see a push above the 0.6707 zone, somewhere around here, which is the current highest point of, if I'm not mistaken, this year, right? There we go. Yep, that's the highest point of this year, current highest point of this year. So if we do clear that, great, I'll go for some higher levels. For the downside, yes, if this upside line gets broken, then certainly, yes, let's aim for lower levels. And I think that these are the next potential targets, which we need to keep an eye on, the 0.64, 14, 18 zone, somewhere around here. Very quickly on AUDJPY, our risk on, risk off monitor, and we're seeing this retracement back down, but we're kind of flirting with this upside line, to be honest. But this upside line is, it's not the the best option here. Look, well, long story short, I would say this way, that I think this upside line is probably a little bit better one. Let's give it a little bit of room for maneuverability. We could see a little bit of a retracement back down, but if we stay above this upside line, then yep, I will consider a possible rebound. If we do clear the upside line, I'm gonna go to the downside. One pair that I wanted to pick up on, AUDNZD. Look at this animal. Honestly, it is just continuing to rally, and oh my god, we cleared the upper side of the rising channel. So yeah, I mean, look, what are we aiming here for? Well, I don't know. Let's dig in. Let's see, what are we aiming here for? Look, this is a good area of resistance right here. We're exactly where we are right now. Yes, then the next target is somewhere maybe this inside swing low, somewhere around here. Yeah, I need to zoom in here a little bit. Yep. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. There we go. So in 1.1319, I think that's a good next good target. Certainly the best target for me right now is the 1.1487 near the 1.15 zone. But okay, let's go slowly on this. Let's not rush into things. For now, everything's looking quite positive. We clear the upper side of the rising channel, and hey, let's see if we can clear this 1.1252 zone. If we can do that, great. More buyers here could join in. I understand for some that it is a possible opportunity for a short, but do not rush. When you see something like this happening, do not rush. Let's jump into euro pairs very quickly. Euro USD. So yes, we're seeing of course, the US dollar right now is drifting back down. What's interesting here, look, this week, of course, you know that we got the interest rate decision from the central bank, the US central bank, the Federal Reserve, and those guys decided to cut rates, right? And that was no surprise there. Also, what was interesting, that the projections for first year, second year, and third year projections for the interest rate, those were on the lower side, much lower side. And hey, I'll believe it when I'll see it. Don't get me wrong, I'll believe it when I'll see it. For now, I mean, we know that the Fed is still going to go in for those rate cuts, but it seems that it's not stopping the US dollar right now. So I was talking about this recently in one of my latest videos. You can check those out on YouTube. What I was saying, that the market kind of is trying to get back into their senses, but it seems like no, at the moment the US dollar is kind of picking up pace. For me, I'm trying to understand this logic, why after interest rates are getting cut and then the US dollar rallies, there is no logic. However, I was trying to think about this, and I don't know, again, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but the whole point that maybe the US dollar is rallying is because if it's a safe haven. It's also seen as a safe haven together with the Japanese yen. So why you would jump into safe havens when you see stock markets kind of reversing south, but the stock markets are actually near all-time highs. So but maybe that's the whole point. Maybe the US dollar is getting picked up earlier, because maybe people are anticipating a little bit of profit taking in the stock market, because again it hit all-time highs. So maybe that's the case. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not really 100% sure on that, but at least me as an analyst, I mean, that's what I'm here to do. I'm trying to find some sort of logic, and well, this is what I'm coming up with. Again, if you're you're looking at, if you're watching this, if you want to drop me a message, and explain maybe your side, your part, more than happy. Like I said, we all don't know everything, right? I mean, we try to come to some sort of a conclusion here. Anyway, long story short, for now, what I'm seeing here, yes, euro is dropping back below the 1.1830 zone right here, which was the previous highest point of this year. We created a new high this week, but then we're failing to stay above that previous all-time high. There we go. Look at this. Look at this beautiful structure, beautiful false breakout, right? It's a beautiful false breakout. Let's see what's going to happen next week. But if we struggle and if we start breaking this upside line, I'm not really seeing a bright future here. Maybe a little bit of retracement here could be possible, because if I just start dropping my Fibonacci retracement, then well, you'll see that this situation here is quite interesting, that we could see a little bit of retracement back down here on this side, on the towards the 23.6, and that would be roughly around the psychological 1.15 zone. Good potential target 1.15. Yep, have we been here for a few times? Oh, certainly, so like, why not to go back there? But for that, a clearance of this upside line is needed. Let's jump into EUROJPY very quickly. This one also is, well, this one tried to drop back below this breakout point, the 174 zone, or 173.90. I talked about this. I said if we're gonna clear this, I'm gonna go higher. So at this point, it seems that the Japanese weakness, the Japanese yen weakness, is helping the euro here, and helping this pair to stay afloat despite the slight weakness in the euro. So I think that as long as we stay above the 173.90, there is a chance for a move higher. Euro GBP continues to push higher. Look at this, that we're breaking through the triangle pattern here. We're breaking through the upside. The euro is on the stronger side against the British pound. There we go. I'm leaning towards further upside right there. Let me just EURUSD. Yeah, the NZD was on the lower side, but look at this. Look where we are. Look where we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are near key resistance. So what I'm curious to see this week, actually, if we're going to remain above this on the weekly candle, above this whole territory, basically, if we're going to remain below the psychological 2 level at the end of this session this week, it will be an interesting potential move to the downside. But again, let's not rush into conclusion. We need to wait. USDJPY very quickly. Let's have a look at this one. Beautiful push back up here. Again, beautiful false breakout. Look at this. Look at this. I mean, I talked about this. I said to you, ladies and gentlemen, keep your eyes on this, because this is a nice little range here. Look at this beautiful thing here. So this is nice, beautiful range, and we're currently stuck in it. And look, until we're remaining here, I'm just observing the price action. We're getting our false breakouts. That's fine, but that's not really helpful. So for now, we're playing the waiting game. USDCAD, we had the Canadian Central Bank interest rate decision as well. So initially, before the interest rate decision, we saw the US dollar dropping here, Canadian dollar dropping, but then I think this positivity kicked in here, mainly because of the Fed and how this played out, that the US dollar is now seen as a stronger one, and we're seeing this USD CAD pushing nicely to the upside. In general, all good, beautiful triangle formation potentially forming. Where's my, there we go, that's what I was looking for. So it's a very, very textbook formation in my opinion. Look at this. Look at this. Quite nice, right? Very, very nice. And hey, it's a descending triangle pattern. At least it looks like that, like one. So if it is a descending triangle pattern, such patterns tend to break to the downside, meaning that we should be expecting some strength from the Canadian dollar. But again, it's a little bit difficult because, you know, oil is not the strongest one. There are tensions between the U.S. and Canada and on the trade side, although it kind of calmed down a little bit, at least for the public eye. But those are still happening. Now, while we remain inside this pattern, I'm not really touching this one. I'm just observing the price action. Jumping into GBPUSD, ladies and gentlemen, GBPUSD. So beautiful decline. Yep, I talked about this little barrier here, the 1.3588. I said if we stay above it, I'll consider continuing. I'll consider to move higher. I'll continue considering the move higher. But if we fall below this, I'm taking a neutral stand. I'm gonna get more bearish if we break the upside line taken from the low of the lowest point of August here. This upside line right here is drawn from that. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let's actually jump into the commodity sector very quickly. Gold, look at this gold. Gold is very, look, it's forming something of a shooting star. It's forming something of a shooting star, and you know, are we looking for a possible retracement back down? For me, this potentially looks like one, and however, I don't want to rush into conclusion yet, because for me, maybe the downside could come on a break of this little upside line right here. And I mean, by downside, I mean a larger correction back down, maybe back to the 3,600, or maybe a little bit below that even. So I will, like I said, I'll draw something like this right here. If we clear this upside line, yep, I'm leaning towards slightly lower areas. For the upside, I would like to see, oh, no, this way, there we go. For the upside, yes, a clearance of the current all-time high is needed, so I'm not really doing anything with it unless I get a clearance of the current all-time high. Silver, pushing back up, oh, wonderfully held above the 41.45 zone, so that's a good sign. I said to you that if we do fall and stay below it, I'll go lower. Well, we fell twice, but we didn't stay, so we're trying to move higher. That's it. I'm not getting very positive, or you know, or something like that. No, I will consider a move higher if we do push above the current highest point of this year, near the 42.95 zone. If we can get that move, a forthcoming higher high will be confirmed. Palladium, where it's stuck. White Castle, I can see there's a comment. Thanks for your analysis. Much love from the Lion City, Singapore. Hey. Nice to see. I have a good friend. I have a good person that I know, from Singapore. So actually two people I know from Singapore. Very nice people. Or as you know, the current U.S. leader likes to say, very nice. You know, that's my cheap impression. Anyway, thank you very much, White Castle. I really appreciate that. So thank you very much for your comment, and thank you for the kind words. Really appreciate that. I hope you're I hope this week was good for you. You know, by the way, let me know. Were you trading this week? If you were, what were you trading? Out of curiosity. And in general, whoever's watching right now, let me know what are you trading normally. You know, like that's that would actually help me. You know, maybe I would put a little bit more emphasis on those instruments. Anyway, Palladium, ladies and gentlemen, we're stuck in a triangle. We're stuck in between the two trend lines, so we're waiting for the clearance. I'm not really touching this one unless we clear one of the sides of this triangle. Platinum is also stuck in a triangle. Similar story, waiting for the clearance of at least one of the sides of the triangle. Copper, ladies and gentlemen, copper, beautiful potential bearish flag forming. Hey, If that gets cleared, if the lower side here of this upside line gets, the lower side, if the upside line gets cleared, great, more sellers here could join in. However, if we are considering this to be a bearish flag, I need a clearance of this 4.33 zone just to be a little bit more on the safe side. A forthcoming lower low then will be confirmed. Then we'll be more than happy to travel towards this area right here, somewhere near the psychological 4 level. I think that's that's quite doable, but again, some confirmation breaks are needed. Oil, my beloved oil, and it's struggling to move higher, but hey, did I say that or did I say that? I talked about the oil in general from the beginning of this year. I said I'm bearish, and I will remain bearish, to be honest. I'm still targeting that psychological $60 level, and maybe even lower levels. But let's of course not rush and let's not get ahead of ourselves. Look, in April we were at around $55. Ideally I need a clearance below the 61.43 in order to go lower. But look, oil currently OPEC plus is not really stopping on the production, on increasing production, increasing output. So why oil needs to go higher, I really don't know. Demand is on the kind of shaky globally, and people are there are problems with oil in some areas, which is, to me, like, honestly, is like absurd. Like, how come there are some issues in some regions, that there are problems with oil, but I think it's more of a refinery issue in a way. Not all of them are able to refine rapidly. Again, it's really weird, honestly. I'm seeing some of these reports, and I'm thinking, like, OPEC plus continues to pump as much as possible, but there are some regions which are struggling with, getting oil, petrol, for example, petrol, diesel. Okay, but again, like I said, I can only blame the refineries, or maybe some geopolitical tensions. White Castle. I'm always on GBPJPY, dollar, US dollar against the Singapore dollar. You know what? That one's interesting. Actually, let me just quickly pick up on as USD SGD, and then I'll jump into and I'll continue with the commodities. This one's interesting. This one, I do look at this pair just on my own free time, just to see what's happening. Overall, we had a decline. The Singapore dollar did strengthen a lot, I would say, against the US dollar. And but again, at some point, everything comes to an end. I think that there could be some more downside here. I think a little bit more strengthening, in my opinion. Not much, but somewhere up until here, basically. And on the upper side, if you're looking for some higher levels on this pair, look, what I'm expecting is kind of something like this, some sort of like a move like this, a nice decline, a strong decline, and then kind of a rejection here somewhere, and then a shift back up. So this is something that I'm keeping an eye on. And hey, that means, like I said, maybe there could be some weakness in the Singapore dollar later on, but against the US dollar. But again, let's not over speculate on this one, okay? This is a weekly chart, by the way, that I'm looking at. And we are, like I said, we are at kind of almost historic lows here, and at one point, I think it will travel back up, but at the moment, I think the market, the bulls of the Singapore dollar are enjoying the moment. Jumping back into the commodities and natural gas very quickly, because I'm going to run out of time soon. Okay, look, we dropped heavily. We dropped back below the psychological 3 level. It's choppy, and I think this upside line no longer needed. I think we're only going to just stick to the downside line for now. So I think we're going to be stuck in a range here for a little bit. So that's why I'm going to just kind of approach this with caution. Look, I think we're going to be oscillating around that psychological 3 level, especially right now. Keep your eyes on the on the decisions of the EU regarding the Russian LNG, how this is going to play out. Because if suddenly there will be a need for more US LNG, well, I think that this could travel back up. Let's see. I might be wrong. Coffee, very quickly. Coffee, ooh, beautiful decline after hitting this 418.69 level. There we go. Boom, to the downside, testing the downside line here, and let's see if we can get a nice rebound back up. Look, I'm not touching this one. I enjoyed the move here. Fantastic. Now I'm gonna wait. I want to see if we can rebound from this trend line, which we broke before. But if we cannot, if we start dropping below it, I will consider maybe some lower levels, especially if we do fall back below the 365 territory. Cocoa, very quickly. Cocoa, okay, near key support. Let's see if we can break that 7,205 zone, and if we, or 7,200 zone. If we can do that, we can see further declines. Very quickly on sugar, and I'm going to jump into the crypto world. Ooh, nice. Look at this. This downside line provided fantastic resistance, and there we go. We drifted lower to the downside. So we tested the 15.42 zone here. We dropped below it, but you see, this is the interesting bit, is that we are kind of bouncing around here. I would say this way: if we somehow start seeing a sharp reversal back up here towards this downside line, maybe this could be a nice opportunity for a long. But again, there's a lot of ifs still. I don't want to say that for sure that's going to happen. No, but certainly if we do, after such a decline, if we do get a reversal, a sharp reversal back up, this to me sounds like a bit of a positive moment. We can see White Castle. You believe my beloved Singapore dollar will be weakened in the Q4. Q4. Okay, look, weaken relatively to where it is right now. Yeah, maybe. Relatively to where it has started the year. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. This is GD. So, relative to this, yes, maybe it will be. Wait, sorry, you're talking. Yes. So jumping higher. So, yes, like I said, relatively to this, then yes, relatively to where it kind of started off the year. I don't know. Maybe it could still be on the stronger side. So again, it really depends how big of a drift higher. But then you have to really strongly believe in the U.S. dollar. And at the moment, when the U.S. is trying to attract more foreign investments and attract more buying of their exports, which is mainly weapons, they need a cheaper dollar. So yeah. I don't really see, like I said, I don't really see that that weakness coming in the Singapore dollar against the U.S. dollar that much, So, but I mean, there could be some weakness, but again, relatively to what, to where we are, to summertime or to winter time, the beginning of the year. Bitcoin, 117,400 roughly here. I talked about this. I said we need a clearance of that one in order for me to go higher. And I talked about the 112 zone like this before, because again, that's a good one right there. And this 100 and, like I said, 112, we cleared it, we went higher, that's absolutely fine, everything's in line. So now let's see if we can clear the 117,400. If we can do that, I'm aiming for the 120. Bitcoin Cash, and now this one was an animal yesterday, honestly. Look at it pop here, boom, poof, and drifting back down very quickly. This is one of those moments. We went for that highest point of December of last year. We cleared it and we just failed. So basically we're failing right now to stay above this hurdle. Let me just jump into weekly. Yep, there we go. To me, this looks a little bit of a bearish indication. But again, the week is not finished. and we could see still some moves to the upside. Maybe this is just part of the a retest of the broken trend line. If you remember, I talked a lot about this, and I said before that whenever we break a trend line, we tend to revisit it from the other side, and it doesn't have a time span like when exactly. It can be straight away, or it can be after a few days, a few weeks, maybe even months, but eventually it does retest. So we're happy that it's happening right now, straight away the next day. So now let's see if we can rebound from this downside line, from the upper side of this downside line. If we can, then I would say I will consider some moves to the downside here. But you know what? For the moves to the downside, I would prefer to see a drop below the 573 territory, somewhere there. Ethereum 4,500, still hugging that and not really doing much. So I'm observing the price action. I think we are forming something of a squeeze here, so we're waiting for the exit here. So let's see what's going to happen with this crypto. For now, we're seeing a little bit of flow happening into the crypto ETFs, I would say, and that's kind of the positive thing that's happening in the crypto world right now. There are some new cryptos appearing, so that's also fueling the top cryptos, basically just showing that there is excitement in the crypto world. But hey, at the moment, like I said, I'm just observing this, and I'm not really seeing much too many interesting things here. It's just like kind of stable, I would say. Ripple, looking at this, yep, just loving that 3 level, just oscillating around it. I talked about this little idea of a little squeeze, but this is a very, very short-term idea. So look, it might break this upside line, drift lower, find good support near the 2.95, rebound back up. So again, it's a very short-term idea, this potential breakout zone. Let's see what's going to happen here. Litecoin, again, we're stuck in a range right now, so I'm not really touching it. 111.72 is the one on the downside, this upside line as well. I need a clearance of that in order to go lower. And hey, if we are looking at the upside here, then I would say this is wonderful here. I think this could be a nice idea for the upside, certainly with some barriers on the way higher, but hey, as always, as with everything. So keep your eyes on the 120 zone on the upside here. Dogecoin, very quickly. Dogecoin calmed down a little bit. Look, we had Tesla rallying, this week, and I'm not saying, and last week as well, but I'm not saying anything. The two are doing the same thing, but we know that Mr. Musk does like Dogecoin. So for now, I'm going to consider some higher levels only if we do push above the 0.3065. Forthcoming higher high then will be confirmed, and then we'll just kind of take it from there. Polkadot, ooh, very nice. Look, I talked about this. I talked about this idea here, this 4.60. Let's round it up here, 464. Yep, if we can clear and stay above that, I'll go higher, but we're clearly struggling with that barrier. So let's see what's going to happen by the end of today. If we're going to stay below this, maybe a little bit of retracement back down could be possible. Maybe we're forming a nice ascending triangle pattern, but we're going slowly on this. So yeah, if we do remain above the 4.64 area, then great. I will go towards that psychological 5 level, or maybe even a little bit higher. And finally, Tron, beautiful push back up here. What can I say? A good hold up is kind of happening around here, just below this. I think it's more of this area, the 0.35 zone. I think that, yeah, that's the barrier that that we need to watch. And if we do clear the 0.35, yep, I'm gonna go to the upside. I'm gonna go for these levels here near the 0.3682, something like that, and then we'll just take it from there. But at the moment, if you're looking for some lower areas on this one, wait for a drop at least below the 0.3373, and then we'll just take it from there. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. that's it for this session. Thank you very much for your, first of all, your participation, Ahmad and the White Castle. I really, really appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. You kind of livened up my day a little bit. Appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this week. Whoever was watching me this week, I really, like I said, I value your time. I really do, because it's not an easy, session to maybe to stick to. It's for an hour, but one session that you can certainly jump into is going to be next week. On Tuesday, I'm going to be talking about the RSI indicator. So, yep, I hope you'll like it. You can find the link in the description of this video. But yeah, I hope you'll have a fantastic trading day today. Ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, have your stop losses in place, risk only what you can afford to lose, don't overtrade, and everything will be fine. And I shall see you next week on Monday. Next week, by the way, just to let you know, it's going to be a shorter one for me. So the Markets Talk webinars are going to happen only on Monday and Wednesday, and then we'll resume then the week after. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.